Do you have a writing routine?
So I have ADD, and I really need to have complete silence. I also love to live in chaos. So I have 3 children. I have a business that did commercials when I was writing this. I have a day job. I have tons of stuff going on. So what I try to do is I try to get up around 5 or 6 and start writing for a good 2 or 3 hours in the morning before the rest of the world wakes up and my phone starts to buzz or my kids wake up. And then I do the same thing at night. I will start again at 7 p.m. and work until about 12 or 1. And so that, it's really like I don't know how to turn the world off unless the world is usually asleep. So that's kind of my I mean that's how I find time to write. I guess it's not necessarily like my initial style. I'll take a with this was more of a rewrite, but if I'm writing something from scratch, it's like I'll take an idea, I'll try to write a scene. I'll take that scene and say, okay, now I have to how does this get to where it is? I usually, if I'm going into a script and saying, okay, I'm going to write this, into a movie, I usually kind of know how I want it, roughly how it's going to unfold or end. And I have something in either the middle or the beginning, and then it's like finding that journey, kind of gluing everything together. So I take those few hours that I'd have in the morning and a few hours that I'd have at the end of the day, and journey down those stories and do outlines. I try to do outlines. They don't necessarily always work for me. Sometimes just getting into scenes and writing them and writing more scenes and writing more scenes works. And throwing away, 60% of those scenes, 75% of those scenes that I've already written, all help me kind of find a character and what they are. I would say in the writing process, I probably only threw away 3 scenes written. My producer and editor partner will hate that. He's always like, we didn't cut any scenes from the film. And I'm like, yes, we did. We cut this. He was like, that's half a scene. I'm like, that's half the scene. That's a scene. But, my process, I would say that would be my process. Is like, I have a few hours. I try to map out something. I've done the classes, I've done the Robert McKee's, and I've tried to kind of go, okay, what's the best method? And I think every writer has to kind of find how their brain works. It's not something that you can just take out of a book and say, okay, I'm going to do this outline, and then there's a positive and negative charge of everything I do, and everything ends up this way, and I'm going to draw a map, and I'm going to have all this, this map, this road map's going to get me from point A to point B. That works for a lot of people. I mean, there's just a lot of ways. I mean, filmmaking and filmmaking in general is just, there's so many paths and so many ways to do any of it that you have to kind of find the best one that works for you. Or else you're just kind of making yourself, you're just trying to do what everybody else does, or you're just trying to kind of fit into, another person's method. And I think that learning those methods are good, but every time I've learned a method, I never quite do it exactly that way. I just take that one bit that really works for me and say, okay, that part, that works for my brain, because my brain, not everybody's brain works the same way. Focus, writing. I mean, sometimes I can start writing and I won't stop, and it'll be until 2 a.m. And sometimes, getting starting writing is impossible. But, it's a very, very hard task. And then in the end, you have a script, and you've lived with it for so long that you need somebody else to be like, this is really good, or say, this isn't really good, and then you have to go back and do it again, and you have to keep telling yourself, like, okay, this idea is good, and I just haven't worked hard enough to kind of get it to be good. And you have to be careful in some places, because sometimes you have to have somebody in your life who's going to tell you the truth. As a writer, if you don't have somebody that's going to tell you the truth, a lot of people want to say this is good. A lot of people want to go like, yeah, I liked it, and you really want to find the person that's going to kind of call you out and say, it's not, I didn't understand this, or I didn't get this, or I didn't do this, but there's just a lot of, I've been brought scripts, I've been handed scripts, and I've told people, truthfully, like, look, I don't think this is right. I don't think it's done. I think you need to keep going. And people have had to say that to me, and I definitely have a few people in my wheelhouse. I'm always like, will you read this? Will you read this? Because, there's other people who I have that have read things that love everything, and I'm like, I don't trust you. I don't trust that you are telling me the truth. You're not trying to hurt my feelings. I don't want that. I want you to hurt my feelings.
But on the flip side, though, then there's also people that's all they want to do. So how do you know that this person's really telling you the truth, not just sugarcoating something, but also not trying to stop you from something?
You don't. I mean, you don't. You have to trust your source. You have to know your source. Is that somebody who's going to do that? I'm trying to think if there's like there's never a silver bullet in any of this industry. So, you want somebody who has taste, who's your friend. And sometimes your friends don't have taste. So you just have to keep trying, because, you can say, and then sometimes that person that you're like, okay, this is the magical person who has taste, and will tell me exactly if it's good or if it's bad. Now I have to get that person to actually read it, which is one of the hardest parts about being a writer, is that you send the script out to people and they'll go, oh yeah, I'm going to get to that this weekend. Like, oh, I have a plane and I'm going to do this on the plane. And, it's hard as a writer, it's hard as a director. I mean, we live in a world where people would rather kind of flip pictures through a book instead of reading an entire script. But you get people to read that script, and once they read it, you know when it's good because you can tell their response. You got to smell the bullshit sometimes. If someone says it's great and, they can't mention anything about the script, then they probably didn't read it. And if someone says, it's the same thing. You always kind of have to, like, if someone thinks something is really good, they're going to give you an example. They're going to give you something that's like the scene where the guy grabbed the knife and like hit it, and then she didn't know, and that's when you're like, okay, that person has read my script. And you'll be, I've been in so many meetings with financiers, and they're like, yeah, well, I don't know about this. And I was like, did you read the script? They're like, no, but I get it. I get the script. I get it. So that's what their producers always tell me, like, just don't don't get mad at them for not reading the script.
Do you think you're a better writer with chaos around you? You hear about like Charles Bukowski, and you can see from documentaries that his office was a mess, but he thrived in that environment. Or Philip K. Dick, he had a place that he called the Hovel, which was his dirty apartment, and he could do his best work there. You think you thrive better writing under chaos, or it's just sort of whenever it fits into your schedule, or in the early morning, late at night?
No, I actually think I write better not in chaos, but I come up with idea. I mean, that's just my life. I love to like live in chaos. I just think that life, if you let life kind of keep happening and doing things, like that's where good ideas come from, or like you get to the bottom of like how people feel about things. Raw emotions come out, and chaotic things are happening. And I think that's where you find out about kind of character and kind of human nature, and just kind of fun ideas, like things that you're like, oh yeah, you can't write about that. But I need to actually physically write it down and to give it dialogue and to give it kind of structure. I need everything to kind of be quiet. I don't need a dirty place. I just need a quiet place where no one can kind of bop their way in, where I can move around, walk around a bit, or I need or I sit at a bar with like noise canceling headphones in, where I can't I can hear people's conversation, but not really, and a good stiff drink. But like sometimes that amount of chaos, like if I don't know anybody there, sometimes that really does do well. Just sitting there and kind of like not knowing who's around me and what it is, and like I can get in and start writing. But I don't think it's for me. It's not about like being in a special den or a little nook or just some place that I can just go. Okay, this is my couch. This is my desk. I usually move back and forth between a desk or a couch, be it an office or my house or anything. And, just quiet. Nobody can walk in and stop it. I think it's the thoughts during the chaos that I like log and go, oh, that's how somebody would react. Like if you push somebody this way, they react this way. And that's what I think helps. It helps me as a writer.
When you're at the bar with the headphones on, do you have people trying to get your attention and, hey, buddy, what are you doing there? Or, how are you able to keep in your own little world there?
No, I just, you find some good wooden Irish bar that like not everybody's there to kind of meet or talk to anybody else. I mean, that's, I don't do that a lot, but I have done some great writing in those moments. But I found, and I do this as a director, that if you have over-the-ear headphones, people don't go up to you as much because there are these blatant things like, I don't want to listen to you. I'm doing something else. I did that when I was actually on the set of Nurse Jackie because I knew the crew so well. I need to do a shot list, and I would need to kind of plan my shots, and I'd always like to plan like specific shots out for scenes, and I'd go onto the set, and sometimes they'd be shooting a different episode, and a lot of the crew guys would come up and be like, "Hey man, like how you doing?" And I would be like, "Good." And then like once I put these big headphones on, I was just like there, and they would be like, and I like put some nice music on. I was like, "Oh, this is great. I could just nobody bothers me. They all think they'll realize I'm working, like I'm doing something here." So.